Swinging a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawly Jean.
It is the Fly the W podcast. It's episode 60 of season number 3. Crawly, unfortunately, the Cubs 2025 season has ended in Milwaukee. And don't forget, we are part of the Blue Wire Network. You can download, you can listen, subscribe, most importantly, review the podcast, follow on all the socials. I'm at Mully and Haw on X.
You can follow me at Crawly's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok, and Crawly's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube's where you're hopefully watching this. You can email us at crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com.
All right, Crawly, you were there. You were north of the Cheddar Curtain, and it's over. It's all over. The season is over, unfortunately, and it's ended kind of with a dud on Saturday night. Not a great outing. And let's start off before we get into the game itself. Let's get into, were things any better or were they worse on Saturday night than they were the first time you went up there for playoff baseball in Milwaukee?
Well, we drove up Saturday and we got the news, and I don't know, Dustin, was it surprising to you, Drew Pomeranz versus Trevor Meagle?
I don't know that Drew Pomeranz was a surprise, but I thought McGill was kind of a surprise, right? And I didn't realize, I'm sure you did, this is a former Cub?
Yeah, former Cub forehander, yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. I mean, and he was their closer at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he got injured at the end of the season,
right?
But he was able to, get back into it. He was activated the last day of the season, was good to go. With Pomeranz, he pitched in 2 of the wild card series games and game 3 and 3 of the 4 division series games. He didn't give up a single base runner, so I mean, it was a good choice. And then McGill was drafted by the Padres in 2015. The Cubs picked him up off waivers in 2019. Then the Twins picked him up and he was traded to the Brewers in 2023. And so this season he was 6-3 with the 2.49 ERA. He appeared in 50 games and was 30 out of 36 in save opportunities, selected to the All-Star game. He only appeared in 2 of the 4 games in the division. So it's not like the Cubs got a bunch of looks at him like they did with Aaron Ashby. But before the game, we went to this place called O'Brien's, right? I don't know if you've been there before.
I'm not. No, like you said, most of the time up there, when I've gone, I've tailgated or I've kind of just gone right in.
So it's a bar, like there's like a strip of bars kind of right on the other side of the highway. And this place was great, man. Cheese curds, frosty cold beverages, bar games, all that stuff. And they have a shuttle that runs and takes you to the game. But I would say, in all honesty, Dustin, the crowd this time was a little bit more mixed, where I thought that the game 1 was probably about 75-25 Brewers fans. I think this was about 65-35. I thought the crowd in game 1 was a little bit louder and a little bit rowdier. I think there's a little bit of hesitation when you kind of look at how things were kind of done there. So to me, it was less crazy. Now we end up rolling in around like 6:15, 6:20 for the start. I did give the Bud Selig statue the 1-finger salute there. And these were my seats, which would really good view. I mean, even though you're high up, there wasn't a bad seat. Now, I don't know about you, if you saw this at home, Ryan Braun was there a whole bunch, and he was on the field and he was shouting and screaming. And you could basically, like, the Brewers have to instruct their fans when to stand up, when to cheer. They got cheerleaders. They have like hype women, and then I think Paul Molitor threw out the first pitch, I believe.
That's pretty cool.
And, but they kept going back to Braun, and I don't know if he was going to instruct us how to take steroids or what he was going to do.
Or how to defraud a FedEx or UPS driver. Right.
Yeah. But this is the thing that makes me laugh. Wave your towels. And then it's just this all the time. Like every time it's important, it's like, get loud. It's like, you guys don't know when you're supposed to get loud. Like, you got to be
instructed.
Instructed. Here it is, guys. Get loud now. So whatever, man. It's funny. And so the game starts and Meagle did his job. He retired the Cubs in order. And for the first time in the division series, the Cubs did not score a run in the first inning. I mean, I think that's just incredible. Pomerantz got the first two batters he faced, but William Contreras would hit a solo home run to left to put the Cubs up 1-0. Dustin, as I was kind of mentioning earlier, that was the first hit that Pomerantz gave up in 5 games. This was going to be his 6th game, appearing in his 6th game. And that was the first hit he gave up. And if you take a look, it wasn't a bad pitch. It was up, but it was, kind of at the very end of the zone, on the outside part of the zone, but it wasn't a meatball. You know what I mean?
Right. No, it wasn't a meatball.
It was right there, but take a look at this stat from Sarah Langs. She said the Cubs Brewers NLDS is the first series of at least 5 games in postseason history to feature a first inning home run in each game. The only other game in which a first inning home run in 5 consecutive games was a 2020 ALCS games 1 through 5. That was a series that went 7 games. So the first inning was, I've never seen anything like that. And I've been going to a lot of playoff games, Dustin. It was a bizarre one.
Yeah, it was a ended up being a really crappy Saturday night, Crawly. It was a crappy Saturday night. That game that was rough, man. That was rough. The whole thing was just rough.
Now that home run by Contreras did get the crowd into it, as did the entrance of the 6'7" flamethrower Jacob Mizorowski.
Mm-hmm.
And Dustin, I think I talked about this last time. I thought that the success or failure of the Brewers were going to ride on this kid's arm. That was my feeling going into it. And he comes in, crowd's buzzing, but on the second pitch, Seiya Suzuki hits a 101.4 mile per hour fastball into left field to tie the game. And for me, Dustin, sitting in my seats, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, that is, that's exactly what we need, kind of to quiet the crowd down, shake Mizorowski, lose his confidence, etc. But after that home run, he only gave up 2 singles in 4 innings of work, 3 Ks. And the key for Mizorowski, 0 walks.
Right. And that's his thing. That was why they had lost a bit of faith in him, was the fact that he was a little wild.
Right. And so if you want to talk about the guy that is probably responsible, the MVP for this game, not the theories for the game, to me, it's Mizorowski, man. He really kind of took control of that game and gave Pat Murphy a lot of innings that were quality innings.
Yep.
On the flip side, Colin Ray came out in the second inning for the Cubs. We kind of had that feeling, right, that it was going to be Colin Ray.
Yeah, it made sense, I guess. But again, the question still stands. If you were willing to go to Colin Ray then at a very, 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 Crawly, important moment in your season, then why were you not ready to go to him in game 1?
It really doesn't make sense. And
I'm just saying, I just don't understand. Nope. I guess, okay, don't make the same mistake twice. You could go that route. Okay. I can accept that too, but it just makes you wonder, you'd love to be a fly on the wall in a meeting to find out how they got to a couple of these decisions they got to.
Yeah, and who's making them, right? Is it counsel who makes it? Is it conjunction?
Straight counsel? Is it a discussion? Right? Do they sit down? Are they at a board? Are they at a table? Are they at a bar? Are they in the suite? What exactly? It's a great point. What exactly is going on? Right? How are these decisions being come to?
Right. That to me is just a question of, as far as the order is concerned. When it comes to Ray, he gave up a single in the second. He worked around a bad leadoff error by Dansby Swanson in the third. And I got to tell you, that was the one where he threw high and Michael Busch had to jump really high in the air to get it. And he wasn't on the bag. Dansby, I don't know what was going on. He, beyond looking about as bad as he has at the plate, he looked awful in the field as well. There was a couple plays. There's a bases loaded play where he threw to second and it was barely in time. He looked like he kept double clutching.
Right.
I don't know.
Very slow to feeling like he had all the time in the world. As well as he played against the Padres, he played that badly, I thought, against the Brewers.
Yeah. It was the 4th inning with 2 outs when Colin Ray falls behind Andrew Vaughn 3-1. He gets it to 3-2, Dustin, but that's where we run into problems. And obviously we all know Andrew Vaughn coming to Cubs, to the Brewers through the White Sox and all that fun stuff. But this was the pitch that was hit for a home run to Andrew Vaughn. He just missed his spot. It was middle.
Yeah. Too much white, right? Too much white of the plate.
Right. I mean, you put it on a tee for that guy, and he made him pay. And that was frustrating. And so now it's a 2-1 lead. Looked even worse as the next two batters single, and Blake Perkins drew a walk, bases loaded. Daniel Palencia came in and gets Joey Ortiz to ground out. So that was a big moment for Palencia. But when I take a look at all of this stuff right here, the council, Aaron Ashby relieved the Miz in the 6th inning. Cubs made some noise. Bush hits a leadoff single in the middle. Nico Horner was hit by a pitch, 2 on, no outs. Heart of the lineup. First up, Dustin, is Kyle Tucker, right? The $500 million man. He gets ahead 3-1, and it's going to be a 3-2 pitch that just absolutely just breaks your heart right here. To me, this was the pitch right there. This was the 3-1 pitch, and you could see where the ball ended up. Again, middle. Vaughn hit it. Tucker didn't. That was it right there. And then the strike, he struck out on a really good pitch. That wasn't his fault, but the 3-1 pitch, that was definitely it. And then, Seiya Suzuki, that was it for him. Ashby's done. Pat Murphy puts in Chad Patrick. Seiya put a charge in one, missed being extra bases. Nice play to get Seiya out. And then Ian Happ strikes out, Dustin. And how many times are we going to see this guy strike out with the bat on his shoulder?
Looking. That again, in that situation, it's just massively irritating. But again, if you wanted to just put a tape on of this season, the negative parts of this season, that was the tape. Yep. It's the top of the 6. I mean, Crawly, we've been running this for a couple of years. The runners in scoring position statistic has been a massive Achilles heel for this team.
Yeah, and this is how Council would describe it after the game.
Yeah, I mean, we had 6 base runners tonight, so if you take Seiya's homer and then those 2, that's half of our base runners. So that was the inning, and that was the inning with the middle of the lineup up. Ashby made a pretty darn good pitch, 3-2 to Tucker. Right, it looked like a right down and away on the corner. It was a nasty pitch. Seiya had a good at bat against Patrick for sure. Had good at bats all night. Seiya did, and then then they're kind of they got out of it essentially. They had a chance to get out of it. But that, I agree. I mean, that's really the only inning you could talk about. We just didn't do much. We had 6 base runners. You're going to have to hit homers to have any runs scoring in scenarios like that. So,
he didn't mention Ian Happ's at bat, right?
No.
But when he talks about that right there, if you're not going to hit with run, they didn't even have a lot of runners in scoring position. Yeah. It just so happened the 6th inning that was your opportunity with the heart of the order, and you couldn't do anything, and you needed to homer. And if you told me that both the Cubs and the Brewers would be 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position in this game, I would have given the advantage to the Cubs, because that's the thing about the Brewers, death by 1,000 cuts. They get on base. They start running around all over the place like crazy, taking first to third, stealing bases. You didn't see that from the team. They out-homered the Cubs, which is not something that I saw, and I don't think anyone could have predicted. This is from Jason Stark. The Brewers had 3 runs, 3 solo home runs. The amount of games they won this season, 2025, when scoring only on 3 solo home runs, 0. They didn't do it. In 2024, how many games did they win scoring only 3 solo home runs? Not a one. So in the last 2 years with Pat Murphy in the helm, they've never won that way, but that's how they're going to go about winning this one. And after that Nico Horner hit by pitch, the Brewers bullpen retired 12 of the next 13 Cubs they faced. Bryce Trang would add a solo home run to make it 3-1, and Abner Uribe got the 6-out save. Cubs season would end, and the Brewers move on to the LCS for the first time since 2018. But Dustin, I think you really kind of said, it's just that it was the whole second half about not hitting with runners in scoring position, right?
Yeah, and Tucker and PCA after the All-Star game were not even a third of what they were in the first half.
Right. And so when you take a look at it through the division series, right, the Cubs played the wild card and the division. Cubs led all teams with 12 home runs, followed by the Brewers and the Dodgers with 7. When you talk about strikeouts, the Cubs were first with 81 strikeouts, followed by the Dodgers with 56. The Phillies, who didn't even play in the wild card round, had 38. But, you know, when you talk about base runners in scoring position, the 3 best teams were the Yankees, Blue Jays, Guardians. Brewers were 4th with runners in scoring position out of the 12 teams. 2 worst teams, the Cubs were 11th, going 5 for 40 with 2 home runs and 12 RBIs with runners in scoring position. That's a 125 average.
Yeah.
The only team worse than the Cubs when it came to runners in scoring position, Padres were 3 for 26. So for the Cubs, I mean, that we knew it. We've talked about it. We've talked about it for years, and it cost them the division in the regular season, and it cost them the division series. I mean, I can say in all honesty, it wasn't the world's most exciting game. And I just felt we came off those 2 games in Chicago at Wrigley Field on a high. Like, it just felt like the momentum was 100% on our side.
And it just made it like momentum is not a thing in baseball. That's how that game was. It was just, I mean, yeah, like it doesn't even exist, right? Like it doesn't even exist. It was a terrible way. I mean, it really consumed my entire day, as I'm sure it did you, because you were at the game. And it was just such a letdown for the buildup, right? Such a letdown for the buildup. That 6th inning, I just keep thinking about that 6th inning. It's going to drive me absolutely batshit, you know what, all the way until, March.
Right. And after the home run by Contreras, and then Seiya answers right back. It's awesome because the section I was in for the most part was like probably 70% Cubs in my little section right there.
Okay.
And we were pretty loud, but so you're figuring like, okay, here we go. This is going to be a prize fight. You know what I mean? And exchanging blows and all this exciting stuff. And it just as far as, excitement on the base pass, defense, hitting, it just wasn't there. I mean, it was a lot of bullpen arms, and I thought Jose Quintana was going to get some innings, and that's the thing that Mizorowski being able to go to 4. I mean, when he was locked in and dominant like that, he made the Cubs look silly. And so I thought the Brewers would be a little bit more rattled, and they weren't, to their credit. I think that they were able to kind of just do what they had to do to win, and they took the game. And I think, we're going to get into it in the next segment, but it was a shock to Cubs fans that it ended the way it did. Like,
absolutely right. Absolutely right, Crawly. It was a shock to the system, no doubt about it.
Yeah, just like a whimper like that. And it shouldn't have been, because we've been dealing with these up and downs all second half. But after the game, we're going to listen to a couple quotes, but you could just hear in their voices. I mean, it was tough for them, but again, this was our concern going into the postseason, is that the bats can't just disappear. You have to find a way to get base runners. Okay. And you have to be able to adjust in these postseasons. You're seeing now, obviously, if you watched the Brewers game last night against the Dodgers and saw what Blake Snell did, that's not normal. Normally, you're see a lot of these guys coming out, a lot of these guys throwing heat, and you have to figure out a way to do it. You have to figure out a way to make the adjustment.
Right. Absolutely right. You got to adjust, right? They're not nearly enough adjustments. It's the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. It is episode 60 of season number 4. The 2025 season ends up in Milwaukee, north of the Cheddar Curtain. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. We'll take it. Email us, Crawly's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget you can watch us on Crawly's Clubhouse YouTube page. The vibe in the Cubs clubhouse after the game was obviously despondent. The team really believed in each other and took this series very, very hard, right? A very hard loss for everybody involved.
Yeah, and Andy Wells said, very sad. Cannot deny that. Larry Beck is following on YouTube, said, what happened to chaos on the base pass? Worked in the 2 previous games. No one did anything to get on base. So, it was despondent, and listening to these guys, I felt like I heard more emotion from Craig Counsell after this game than I've ever heard from him before. I mean, obviously it's only been a couple of seasons, but you could tell how much it bothered him. Here's what he said.
Well, I mean, I'm disappointed. I'm sad. I think, I think this team did a lot to honor the Chicago Cub uniform. And that's what you do. You honor the uniform. You honor the place. That's like not the results goal, but that's always like what our job is to do those two things. And we did that. We didn't get it done today. And that hurts, man. It doesn't feel good. But I think when you zoom back a little bit, we did some good things as well.
And we're going to zoom back as we kind of go into the off season. We'll take a look at a lot of different things, but I know you and I have joked about, Craig Tober, all this stuff. What did you think as a Cubs fan, seeing Craig Counsell manage for the first time in the postseason?
I think it's a different kind of postseason. I think this is a whole new type of, I don't know that he's managed in this idea with openers and the use of the bullpen. And I think it's different. There is Craig Timber. There still is not Craig Tober. I still think that after the last couple of years that Murph is actually the secret sauce up in Milwaukee, and it's not Craig Counsell. At the end of the day, the players have to hit. I don't think he did a bad job overall with the bullpen and the pitching, but I think some of it is brand new, the strategy. But at the end of the day, the hitters have to hit. I mean, at the end of the day, they get two guys on in the top of the sixth inning, and they couldn't even move the guy 90 feet. They couldn't move the guy 90 feet. And this is why you traded away the third baseman, right fielder of the future, to get a guy like Kyle Tucker in the moment, tie game, first and second. Maybe they're not 2-1 at the time. First and second, nobody out. You're up to bat in the postseason. You've played 60-plus postseason games, and you look like you've never had a bat in your hand.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm going to disagree. I don't think Pat Murphy's the secret sauce. I don't think Craig Counsell's the secret sauce. I think the secret sauce for the Brewers is the scouting and developing, how they just find guys and are able to unlock their best potential. And then you give that to a manager, whether it's Craig, whether it's Pat, whoever you give it to. To me, I think that's the key, right? Look at how 100% accurate they were. Remember, they gave Jackson Chourio the biggest contract for a guy that never played one inning of Major League Baseball. Correct. Right? They sat there, and every time they seem to trade a guy, they get good returns back on it. It's Trevor Meagle. Cubs couldn't figure it out. Padres couldn't figure it out. Twins. It wasn't like, it was just the Cubs, but somehow they did. And Jacob Misiorowski, you got him from a JUCO, you're sitting there and you're finding these guys and they're hitting. And that's what you have to do if you're if you're not a major market team, is you have to hit on draft picks. You have to hit on your trades. You can't have more failures than successes because you can't buy your way out of mistakes. And I think that's the secret sauce, is really the way that they develop their players. It just seems like whenever they have a guy come up, they're ready to play. How were they able to figure out Andrew Vaughn? And the
here's the thing. They lucked into that. Okay. That has nothing to do with scouting. That's Aaron Savale not liking his demotion, demanding a trade, and them calling around and being like, okay, it's a car ride for both guys. Here's $90 in gas money. You go one way, you go the other. Okay. The White Sox weren't looking to keep Andrew Vaughn around either. That was just a guy that was right place, right time, change of scenery helped him out. The Brewers didn't do anything. I blame Aaron Savale for all of that mess.
That's another look.
You think that's scouting? You think that's scouting on the Brewers' part?
I think that they sat there and they said that this guy is a guy that we believe has potential.
They said, why not? Why not give it a shot? There's nothing. He was the third overall pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. He needed a change of scenery. I'm just saying that was luck.
They just seem to have a lot of luck then, I guess.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, Andrew Vaughn, there's no skill in the fact that they got Andrew Vaughn for the White Sox. That's not skill. That's
you're telling me that no other team could have given you a better deal than that?
I think part of it, Crawly, was timing. He wanted out. He demanded out. Listen, Savali's got to wear that, okay? And I don't want him anywhere near the Cubs moving forward. Okay? You're out. Get out.
Look, it's
Get out. Out.
They sat there. They found the guy who is the White Sox threw him on the scrap heap. Again, you're talking about what a top draft pick, and you gave him away for Aaron Savali.
Right. That's how sick of him they were. I blame the Sox too, of course, but I'm not going to give the Brewers any kind of credit.
Other teams could have gotten him, right? Why didn't they?
Because I guess they either didn't scout him or they didn't think much of him.
That's what I said. Scouting and development. It's what they do. It's what the Brewers do. Lucky. When I look back at all of, I wish the Cubs were that lucky. When I look back at it all, I thought Counsell did a decent job. You're never going to ever convince me that pitching to Manny Machado in the wild card series was a good idea. That was on him.
No, and he owned at least eventually he owned that, right? Like he mentioned that they could have done it differently. And I'm sure that's if something keeps him up at night, that will be the thing. But it ended up not mattering, right? Because they won that series.
Right. But I think
what will now keep him up at night is the 3 days rest for Matthew Boyd. That's what I want to know. That's what will keep him up at night. Because again, you didn't have Justin Steele basically all year.
Right.
Okay. And then Cade Horton was a surprise. Not that he was good, but that he was great. Okay. I don't think anybody expected what Cade Horton did this year. Maybe next year, the year after that, but not this year.
Right.
And then you didn't end up having him when you really needed him the most.
Well, let's hear what Nico had to say about after the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to get to this point. No matter what kind of roster you have, what kind of hopes you have as a team, what people project, like it's a challenging thing to get to, game 5 of a division series and really have championship series right there in front of you and into really the thick of it. And so, yeah, that really stings. So, you can look forward to things to come and this and that, but when you're in the middle of it and just knowing that it's hard to get here, yeah, that's hard. You share a lot emotionally with people over the course of a whole season, but it really is, it's heightened in this space, and I think it brings the best out of a lot of people. The joy is really high, and so are the moments that don't feel good, and I don't think there's a lot of regret in this locker room, but it's still, that doesn't make it really hurt less, yeah. It stings extra because the belief of the group was legit. It was high. Winning a World Series, playing the biggest games in baseball, and, so, yeah, those games at Wrigley were incredibly uplifting, and obviously we had a lot more ahead of us in our mind, but those games were incredible to experience and put us in a great place to go into today.
I got to ask you, Dustin, if you were to give me an MVP for the postseason for the Cubs, not pitching, just position players, who are you going with?
Nico Horner, Michael Busch, Ty.
It's tough. Now here's what I was looking at this today. Michael Busch was 8 for 27. He hit 4 home runs, had 4 RBIs, slash 296, 387, 741. That is really impressive. But Nico Horner was 13 for 31 with a home run, 2 RBIs. He had a stolen base. He slashed 419, 424, 598. So I think you could make an argument either way. But Jackson Chourio had hits in each of his first 8 career postseason games. Okay. So that 8-game streak to start his postseason career is longest since?
No idea.
Ryan Sandberg's 10-game streak to start a Cubs postseason career, October 2nd, 1984 through October 9th, 1989. His .429 batting average for Nico, 7th best among postseason hitters in the major leagues. I mean, obviously he had a very critical error in game 1, but when it came to who I trusted most, and that's what I think we've said most of the season, who do you trust most with the game on the line, at bat? It was Nico, and Nico absolutely proved what he did there. On the flip side, here's what Dansby Swanson had to say after the game.
No, I mean, it hurts. this is never how you want things to end. It's painful, and as it should be. This is something we obviously all care so deeply about, and that's why it hurts so much. This group was so connected and believed in one another and cared about one another that it just makes it hurt and sting all the more. Yeah, I think really at the end of the day, they essentially took 3 better swings than we did tonight. And it just didn't go our way. We didn't obviously play good enough. Give them credit for obviously, they've had a great year, and that's continuing on. We just weren't able to get it done tonight.
We weren't able to get it done. You know who I also include in that we? Dansby Swanson.
Oh, for sure. Right.
When you take a look at some of the numbers on who really struggled here, take a look for, obviously PCA is a young kid. This is his first postseason. I don't want to put a lot on him. You know what I mean? But when you look at Pete Crow Armstrong, Dansby Swanson, and Ian Happ in the NLDS, 12 for 27, 4 extra base hits, 8 RBIs, and 39 Ks. 39, Dustin. So when I'm looking at this, when you're talking about Dansby going 4 for 26 with 15 strikeouts, that's brutal. PCA a little bit better, 5 for 27 with 12 strikeouts. Carson Kelly was 5 for 29 with 12 strikeouts. And then the worst of them all was Ian Happ, 3 for 30. He had the big home run. He had 2 home runs.
The big home run, yeah. Yeah,
but 13 strikeouts. The only one that struck out more than him was Dansby. He slashed 100, 156, and 333. And that was a guy that was batting 5th pretty much the entire postseason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you just can't, in a postseason, you can't have 4 guys, PCA, Carson Kelly, Dansby Swanson, and Moises Ballesteros, all hitting under 200, all striking out in double digits. That's half your lineup.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Kyle Tucker. He slashed 259, 375. The trouble is he slugged 370. He had no slug. He hit 1 home run that last game before they came to Milwaukee, and that was it. But, when you talk about Kyle Tucker, you were hoping to get a little bit more. Zero extra base. He had 1 home run, no doubles, no triples. So 1 extra base hit in 27 at bats for Kyle Tucker. So those are all things that you kind of take a look at. Here is Daniel Palencia after the game and some stuff that he had to say.
It's great, the atmosphere, everything, just hard to describe, but it was awesome. It was a great experience for me. This year was awesome. I just proud of myself and everything I done, and just excited to see what happened next year.
What are you most proud of your season?
Everything. I feel like I grew up a lot, so I feel like a better player now. So, we take this, like I said, we learn from bad days and good days, and this one was a bad, but I learned a lot. So,
I'll tell you, Dustin, I really thought the bullpen of Palencia, Pomerantz, Keller, and Caleb Thielbar, I'm going to give him credit. He was phenomenal. Caleb Thielbar was in 5 games, 3.2 innings. He didn't give up a run, and Daniel Palencia, here's a guy that wasn't even on your roster when you broke camp, right? And he was pitching some very high leverage situations. So I think that's a positive. I hope he can take the next step forward. Drew Pomerantz, was out of baseball, and all of a sudden he gets a second chance with the Cubs. Brad Keller, non-roster invitee. These were guys that really made up this team. And so I was super impressed, especially when you think about all the guys that ended up kind of flaming out at the beginning of the year in the bullpen. I thought that Matthew Boyd was awesome. That start on 3 days rest wasn't his fault. I think that Jamison Tyone was the best starter in the postseason, in my opinion. I thought the pitching, though, on the pitching side was much better than on the hitting side.
Oh, no doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
And here's what Shota had to say after the game.
Felt like I didn't have enough skills there. So, hopefully, I want to be able to up my skills. So, I have the trust to not necessarily just short innings, but have the trust to go out there and give us long innings. I feel like our team, we have so many really good players that they can perform, and just watching that, it was amazing. And I felt like, for me personally, it's like I need to get to that level, and I need to be able to help the team in that sense.
Losing Cade Horton, you mentioned it before, was just crushing, right? But if Shota would have been the Shota of the first half, it would have changed everything. The fact that they didn't even consider bringing him into Game 5 tells you how far he's fallen.
Right, not even on the radar. And Crawly, we're going to have to, I don't know, we might have to do the next podcast with this top. We need to get into his future. He has a very, very difficult and complicated contract coming up. There are like 7 layers of it. Jed Hoyer is going to talk to the media tomorrow at 11 a.m. That'll be Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see how much, if at all, he will get into Shota's future. But it's a very, very complicated issue, and he can make anywhere between 15 and like 25 million next year if he's a Cub.
Right. In 2 games, 6.2 innings, 8.10 ERA. He gave up, Dustin, think about this, 6.2 innings. He gave up 6 earned runs, 3 home runs. Right. That's a home run in almost 50% of the innings he pitched in.
Yeah.
It's
hard to figure what went wrong. Like,
right.
What went so terribly, terribly wrong for him?
Soroka was a disaster. That was just a waste of a spot. Andrew Kittredge was okay.
But again, it's like, why was he on? So you brought him up. So let's talk about it for a minute. why was he on? Why was he on the roster? Was it because they traded for him? I'm just trying to figure out why in the world he would have been on the roster.
The fact that Javier Assad was not is just mind blowing.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Instead of
right. I think that's just, again, we don't know, just because we don't know who made the ultimate decision. Like you said, were they at the bar at the Gallagher Way? They have a nice little bar area on like the 5th, 6th floor. I don't know. I don't know where these decisions were made and how they were made. Like I said, I wish I could just, I have like 10 questions going through my head for CubsCon, and I'm going to have to try to decipher which one to go with. But Dustin, I think obviously
we should, what we should do, Crawly, if you want, if you're willing, we should put those questions together, maybe. Okay. And we should see if we could put them to a vote.
Like a poll,
right? Like which one should we ask?
All right. I'm going to start putting them down on paper. But obviously the one person everybody wanted to talk to after the game, Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, what do you got to say?
Is it your wish, if it can happen, that you'll return here and maybe stay in Chicago a long time?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know what the future's going to hold, but if not, it's honor playing with all these guys, and wish everyone the best of luck, whether it's playing next year or not, for them, and it's a really fun group to be a part of.
Look, I know he's not Mr. Excitement over there, but I saw it on Twitter somewhere. Someone said something. It was kind of like that generic thing you write in somebody's yearbook that you don't like a lot, like have a kick-ass summer or stay cool, stay sweet. Mm-hmm. It's just like seriously, that's what, it didn't sound enthusiastic about coming back.
No, not even a little bit. But that doesn't mean anything, because he hasn't sounded like anything. He's not been enthusiastic about much.
And the worst thing, though, for me, Dustin, and again, we're going to have plenty of time to kind of dig through this. I always felt that he's exactly the type of player that Cubs fans should want on their team. There's concerns, and we're going to get into them. But if you take a look at what he was in the first half, when he's healthy, he's exactly what you need as far as a guy that isn't just swing and miss, which is what we're talking about. He's a guy that puts the bat on the ball and hits for power and has a good eye. I was disappointed we didn't get the full Kyle Tucker experience. I felt cheated is the best way to kind of describe it, to sit there and have him broken for half the season that we got him. And that's frustrating. But I'm going to let Craig Counsell take the final word here on this right here.
Craig, it might be a little hard to consider this question already, but you're 2 seasons in, you improved by, I think, 9 games, but you haven't won the division. You haven't surmounted the Brewers. Are you encouraged by, are you pleased with the progress, the trajectory 2 years in?
I mean, we won 92 games this year. You'll take that every single year. I think every team would. The playoffs are a different animal. It's completely different than the season. Totally different. So, ultimately, the reason why you want to win 92 games is because you want to play in a World Series and then win a World Series. And we should have those expectations. We should have them every year. That's why when you say you win 90 games, because you got a chance to win the World Series if you do that.
That's the next thing. Okay, you got to that 90 win marker, but there's still a Brewers team ahead of you that still, again, you weren't close to this year as far as, the wins and all that stuff. So I'm hoping Craig and the Cubs and the Ricketts and Jed and Carter, I hope they're all ready to take the next step because they need to.
Oh, they need to. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that, Crawly. They need to. This is the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Group. Don't forget to send us an email, crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com. Don't forget to watch us, as some of you are right now, Crawly's Clubhouse YouTube page. Download, review, subscribe, 5-star reviews. We'll take those. We know the Cubs are out, but the MLB Championship Series are set, and they are underway. The ALCS, Crawly, is already at game number 3, moving to Seattle, and the Mariners are up 2-0 on the Blue Jays.
How surprised were you?
Shocked. Absolutely shocked, Crawly. I cannot believe the way they won that game the other night after playing 15 innings on Friday night.
And basically emptying everything that they had as far as through your pitching staff.
Right.
Like they literally just emptied the tank to try to win that one. I'm saying to myself, the Blue Jays, I think if you remember from the broadcast, they kept saying the Blue Jays are going to love this. The Blue Jays are going to love this, whoever they get.
Right. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, just, they win that first game 3-1 in Toronto, which is really, really a loud park. And then all of a sudden they clobber them 10-3. And I know Aaron Judge has had a great year, but I mean, how can you not think that Cal Raleigh is one of the most important players for his team, the most valuable player, or even the most valuable? If you ask me who I would want on my team, Aaron Judge. But as far as this individual season and seeing what Cal Raleigh is doing, I mean, to me, it's otherworldly. It's just a season for the ages for him.
No doubt about that. He's been fantastic. I still don't understand why he doesn't just get the 4 fingers.
Now I got to ask you, what do you see the Blue Jays doing out? And they're heading to Seattle, right?
Well, I don't see the series going back to Toronto.
You don't see it going back to
no. So, I mean, and again, part of the problem is that Vlad Guerrero hasn't done a thing yet, right? Star's got a star, man. Star's got a star, and he has not starred in this series so far.
And on the other side, we got the Brewers and LA, and the Brewers won last night. The Dodgers won last night. But what a game by Blake Snell! I mean, he just looked unhittable.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He faced one more than the minimum. One guy reached, and he picked him off. Yeah. I mean, the guy was absolutely out of this world. And then that double play ball, Dustin. I said to myself when that happened, I'm like, the Brewers are going to win this series. It just feels like their year. If you didn't see this, go to YouTube, go to MLB.com. You'll find it. But the ball is hit all the way to the wall. And I think it was Sal Frelick who goes up. I think Will Smith hit it. The bases are loaded, 1 out. Will Smith jacks one. Sal Frelick goes up. It hits off his glove, off the wall. And then he catches it off the wall. Now, let me give kudos to the umpire that was watching from left field, because he called it exactly and right away, saying it wasn't a catch, it was a live ball. But all these base runners had no idea what was going on, right? And so because some of them thought it was caught, the guy that was on third he thinks he has to tag up. So he goes all the way back to third and then has to run all the way in. He is thrown out. And then all of a sudden, Wilson Contreras comes all the way in. He runs all the way to third for a double play. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No. Nothing. One of the wildest things you've ever seen. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the Brewers, like they've been known to do, again, death by 1,000 cuts, they start to make a run at it in the 9th inning, and Roki Sasaki has to get pulled, and they have to get Blake Trinan in there to close it out. And it was looking dicey there. And that play, AmFam was ready to explode, man. Miller Park was ready to explode. They were one hit away, and he was able to strike out, with a high strikeout. But I mean, that was a phenomenal game. And tonight is going to be an interesting one, right? You got Yamamoto going against Freddie Peralta.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I'm not saying there's a must.
Well, what did you think about the guy not getting hit by the pitch with the bases loaded? What did you think about that?
I looked at that and I said to myself, I mean, obviously, from your couch, you're like, come on, take one for the team, right?
Right.
Like that's what you're looking for him to do. The ball's barreling in, and how much of that is instinct? You know what I mean? And there are certain players that I think are just like have high baseball IQs. This was Bryce Terang you're talking about.
Correct.
And Terang's up there, and Blake Trinan has one, and he moves out of the way. And if he would have hit him, it would have tied the ball game up.
Correct.
And so I'm sure that he's kicking himself in the butt afterwards, but I think that's just instinct. And like, to me, that's a move that like AJ Pierzynski, right? One of those guys that just is just kind of like a high baseball IQ guy that would just do something like that. Manny Machado's another guy that comes to mind that you're just going to be like, oh my God, of course that guy's going to do that to try to get that extra 90 feet, to get that run, to figure out a way somehow, some way. And he did it. So Dustin, there is something I have to address. And it was one of those things when I walked out of Miller Park on Saturday, once again, the Brewers fans just talking crap. Just get out of here, Fibs. Go on 94. Cubs suck. Just like yelling in your face, like for no reason, and just being absolutely ridiculous. And I put it out on Twitter, and I'm like, you know what? Go Dodgers. I never thought those words would ever come out of my mouth. And of course, I listen to Mully and Haw every morning from 5 to 9 on 670 The Score. But there was this great argument that you guys, not only argument, but there was just this great discussion that you guys kind of got into when, what was it the next day, right?
It was Monday.
It was Monday, and you guys were kind of sitting there talking about this, and I'm sitting there laughing because to me, I felt that I'm like, this is going to be one of those gang up on Dustin kind of moments, right?
Of course,
and,
always. Yep.
But David Haw had your back.
You did.
And I didn't expect that. And I'm not going to say, one way or the other as far as, fandoms and how people want to fan and how they think here. But I thought that David made a lot of good points and was rational. What I've noticed in my mind, or from what I see on social media, and I know Mully's not a social media guy. I don't think he's on Twitter, kind of checking his Twitter all the time. It seemed to me that there was this connection between White Sox Twitter and Brewers Twitter, that they basically align themselves to just be like, F the Cubs. That's what we want to see. We want to see the Cubs lose. And I think, more than anything, here's this clip from the show.
I would love to see Pat Murphy and Dan Wilson.
I would too.
In the World Series.
That would be great.
That would be perfect.
Milwaukee, Seattle, as Dustin has bitter beer face. I think Milwaukee, Seattle now
I don't
what
know.
you'd be looking
How
for.
would you not? I mean, seriously, you look at the Dodgers and the evil empire and throwing money at everybody.
Don't let them buy another championship.
Exactly.
Forget
How
that.
do you cheer for them over the Brewers?
Yeah.
They can take that L flag.
Oh,
all right?
really?
I mean, they're
Really?
so consumed with Craig Counsell and the Cubs that they have to celebrate with an L flag.
Well, I do think that was classless.
Dude.
That was classless.
I'm not We've been down this road before.
Dude.
That was classless.
You do a website. You do a podcast called Fly the W.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you're going to fly the W at them, aren't they entitled to fly an L when
No,
they beat
Fly
you?
the W,
you know that's
we fly
wrong.
the W
You know
against
that's
anyone,
wrong.
not just against the Brewers.
There is no.
You know that's wrong.
There's no need to get butthurt over that.
Yeah, no,
Just grow up.
I totally,
Aching.
I totally understand that. That was classless. You are the Milwaukee Brewers, and you won a big series. That should be enough. You don't need to be that guy.
That was. I don't think anyone thought it through. Somebody threw a flag out there.
They probably didn't think. They clearly didn't think it through.
I
It
don't
leaves
think
a
it
mark,
was.
though. Photos are indelible.
But get over it. I mean, seriously. You know, they beat you fair and square.
They did.
So you can't.
And you can be happy for them, and you can accept that. You don't need the L flag.
And like Murph is like best friends with the Cubs manager. He's the guy saying that he wants people to cheer him, not boo. You know, come on.
Well,
you just gotta.
He probably had no idea it was there. I imagine he would not condone it. I would hope that he wouldn't. But there's no way to explain it away. It was a terrible look for the Brewers.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you want to be a good loser or a bad loser. You got to be kidding me if a fly-in of the L is what sent you over the top.
It's bad enough to send someone over the top, man.
Nonsense.
Dude, it's bad. It's a terrible look for the Brewers.
Is our
I'm saying you to
producer.
dude. It is not a good look to win that way.
Oh.
You won. Go to the NLCS.
You won.
Don't try to rub it in with your rival. It's a bad look.
They got you don't think they were mistreated when they were here in Chicago and they heard everybody? Come on. I mean, really. Gosh, it's just part of their celebration. I wouldn't get too worked up about it.
They posed with it on the field in a team picture.
You know how you keep that from happening?
Win.
There you go.
I get
there
it.
you go. Maybe get a hit when you got two men on base. Maybe don't have two of your better players strike out and the guy hit a foul ball in between just to remind you if you had
There's no
advanced the
question the
runners,
Cubs could have
you
controlled and handled it
scored.
better.
Nobody.
I mean, Dustin, this is what we're talking about here. There's the L flag.
Yep.
And I went and did some research, and what ended up happening is they come out to take the picture, and if you can see, there's a Dominican flag in the picture and stuff like that. What happens is that there was a couple from Milwaukee, right? A guy and his daughter, and they brought the L flag. Now, mind you, it's the wrong damn colors. So if you're going to troll right. But it was the wrong colors. But Trevor Bowers, who's a reliever for the Brewers, ran over and asked if he could borrow it. Okay. And Bowers took it, jogged back to his teammates and passed it around for a few players before, but none of them wanted to do it until former Cub Trevor Meagle is the one that raised it up, and that was it. And so, look, not only you want to think it's just that, it wasn't just that, Dustin. It wasn't just that. How about this one? This was from the Brewers Twitter account.
Right. Their Twitter account.
Dropping an L flag on the bean. Okay, there we go there. You know what I mean? Here's William Contreras after the game on his Instagram. Okay, their fans were just verbally just absolutely berating Cubs fans walking out of there, being complete jackasses. I'm not going to forget this, dude. I'm not, as someone that was at 2 games and had to deal with the shit that they were pulling and all this stuff, and just,
we had Crawly, we
had
had a caller that said the same thing you did, that he's gone to lots and lots of sporting events and he never had felt more uncomfortable than he did in those games up in Milwaukee. This was the first 2 games.
Yeah.
He was up there for that. He said he never felt more threatened, never felt more uncomfortable, never felt more unwelcomed by a fan base than he did in those games. Listen, go Dodgers. I hope the Dodgers stuff them. I hope they sweep them. I hope they absolutely sweep them. Go Dodgers, and then go Mariners. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to jump on my soapbox and be a Dodger fan, but we got plenty of time. We got plenty of time to talk about it. Listen, the season's, it's disappointing it ended the way it did, but there's a lot to talk about this offseason. We are going to be here for you to talk about that. We've got Jed Hoyer talking tomorrow. You might see Crawly and I, depending on what is said, as soon as tomorrow, but you will see us again before the week is out. Crawly, go enjoy NLCS game number 2, and we will get back with everybody before the week is out.
Cub fans don't forgive. They don't forget. All I got to say is go Dodgers and go Cubs.
all over.